Do you ever feel like you're putting out the same fire over and over again? Maybe you're only dealing with the smoke and not the flame. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Thoughtful Beard, your home for insights, ideas, and a scally cap. In our last video, we saw how a brilliant solution to the wrong problem is just an illusion of progress that wastes resources and erodes confidence. If you missed it, I'll link it here. Feel free to watch that first so we're all on the same page. For those continuing the journey, welcome back. I'm Justin, and this time we're digging into symptoms versus root causes, because knowing the difference can save you from chasing the same issues over and over and over again. Let's jump right into it. Remember the example with the Acme Corporation, where management fixated on the symptom of engineers being overburdened instead of the root cause, a flawed development process causing too many bugs. Identifying the right problem turned out to be a game changer for morale, budget, and market share. Today, we're going to dig deeper into the heart of that distinction by exploring the difference between symptoms and root causes. If you watched the first video, you'll recall that not identifying the true root cause leads to repeated cycles of the same issue. You end up throwing money, people, and time at symptoms which inevitably return. Eventually, that vicious cycle makes you doubt your own ability to solve anything. And let's face it, after a while, no one wants to keep patching the same hole without ever fixing the source of the leak. So let's go ahead and define these two terms for the duration of this series. When I refer to a symptom, I'm talking about the outward or surface level indication that something's amiss. It often shows up as a complaint, a visible problem, or a measurable outcome, like there's water on the floor, or our customers say that the interface is too slow. When I talk about a root cause, I mean the underlying issue that generates those symptoms. It's the real driver you need to address if you want to see lasting improvement. Like the pipe has a crack and is leaking, or our code isn't optimized for large data sets. So now that we've defined what I mean by those terms, let's lay out the three telltale signs that you're dealing with symptoms versus a root cause. First is subjectivity versus specificity. Second is short-term versus long-term impact. And third is who or what is actually affected. So first, let's talk about subjectivity versus specificity. More often than not, symptoms are subjective and sense-based or emotional. When you hear phrases like it feels slow, it looks cluttered, I'm frustrated, or we're always missing our deadlines, you're almost always looking at a symptom. When a problem statement tells you what is happening, but not why, you're addressing a symptom. A good problem statement is fundamentally a precise and fact-based description that states why something is happening. A script is blocking the main thread on the website page load, causing a 2-second delay on each transaction. That's a good problem statement because you can draw a direct line between fixing the root problem and significant impact on or elimination of the symptoms. In that example problem, removing or deferring the script eliminates 90% of the reported slowdown. Second is short-term versus long-term impact. When addressing symptoms, relief is usually short-lived and temporary. In the previous example, if we just address complaints of slowness by adding more server resources without ever identifying the script as the actual issue, we would be right back in the same place when usage outpaced the additional resources. Fixing root causes, however, not only fixes the issue, but it eliminates the symptom or symptoms of that problem and keeps them from coming back. Fixing the bad performing script prevents user complaints from resurfacing. third and final is who or what is actually affected. Symptoms, by definition, have a broad and sweeping constituency. As we discussed previously, symptoms are subjective and sense-based or emotional, and therefore so are the defined stakeholders. When you hear everybody's frustrated or all the customers are complaining, you can't effectively work towards a value-add solution. Root causes or problems, however, pinpoint very specific symptoms, processes, behaviors, or people. This allows you to clearly define the stakeholders, get alignment and consensus on the impacts of the problem, and predict the value gained by solving the problem. For example, if the symptom is described as our team keeps missing deadlines and everyone's frustrated, a root cause could actually be described as projects are repeatedly expanding upon their initial scope because we don't have any formal requirements sign off, and that's causing unplanned changes and timeline overruns. If you leave it at the first statement, there's a lot of room to waste time on many solutions that don't actually fix the problem. The second statement focuses everyone and allows for a more laser-focused solution like sign-off or code freezes, etc. So just remember, if you're only seeing the effect and not explaining why it's happening and to who or what, you're still describing symptoms. As a reminder, in the last video, we discussed the three major costs: confidence, capacity, and morale. Let me re-emphasize how they play out specifically when you're stuck at the symptom level. If you remember, first was confidence erosion. You keep resolving symptoms that resurface like a bad penny. Coworkers, teams, and even leadership begins to wonder if anyone, let alone you, can fix things. Secondly was capacity loss. You devote your finite reserves of time, energy, and resources to short-term fixes. Meanwhile, the real problem lives and thrives behind the scenes. And thirdly was morale damage. Everyone gets fed up. Folks question the organization's direction or their own skill set. If it goes on long enough, you risk burnout, turnover, and a generally negative atmosphere. So take a minute and think about projects that you may be on or may have participated in. Do any of these costs resonate with you? If so, there's a high likelihood that it's because you were fixing symptoms and not the root cause. Solving symptoms, to put it another way, is like slapping a coat of paint on a cracked wall. It might look better for a hot minute, but soon you'll be back to paint it again. Now that you see how critical it is to distinguish between the two, here are two quick tests that you can run to help you decide on whether or not you're eyeing a symptom or a root cause. First, ask yourself, if I remove this factor, will the problem come back? If you can still envision a scenario where the problem comes back, you're either dealing with a symptom or you haven't gotten as deep as you can with the root cause. In the earlier script example, you might decide that while this will permanently address this area of performance, it's possible that other scripts could exist that pose similar performance problems. In that case, while this script is the root cause for this problem, the deeper root cause might be that you don't have a process in place to verify the performance impact of scripts at their time of creation. So solving that problem will also solve this problem and all future ones. Secondly, am I focused on an underlying process, system, behavior, or user, or am I describing the visible effects? Remember, if you're only focused on what is happening without considering why, you're dealing with and identifying symptoms. Now, these aren't the only tests. They're just a quick freebie for you to use to see if you need more digging. But we're going to delve deeper into frameworks that will help you do that in the next video. In the remaining upcoming videos, we'll explore systematic methods for peeling back the layers of a problem, like define or a 5 whys approach, so that you can zero in on the root cause. But for now, your biggest takeaway should be this: Don't let the first outward sign of trouble fool you into thinking you found the problem. That's usually just the tip of the iceberg. If you want lasting impact, you need to roll up your sleeves and dig deeper until you can pinpoint the core cause. So as we wrap up part 2, consider the challenges you face at work or even in your personal life. Are you focusing on a real cause or just mopping up water from a leak you haven't found yet? If you found this useful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this series with your network. In part 3, we'll introduce some systematic frameworks that help you get past the symptoms. Think of it as your blueprint for uncovering the engine behind the noise. I'll see you in the next video where we take these ideas and turn them into actionable steps. Until then, remember, you don't fix a symptom, you fix what causes the symptom. Thanks for tuning in to The Thoughtful Beard, where we bring you insights, ideas, and a scally cap to tackle life's toughest hurdles. Thank you.